Hello and welcome to another episode of Seddon Laceys Comic Stash. And it's that time of the month again that we bring you the news.
News. And damn them. One thing we learnt after last month's news episode is sometimes those pesky little buggers drop some of the biggest news about a day after the news episode, don't they? But
I know, just rude.
yeah. Luckily, um, we don't mind going a little bit back in time to cover the big news that was missed.
Yes, well, it's the month of news. It's not, today's
Yeah.
news.
No. You're not here to see what was it, John Craven's news round for those people British enough and old enough to remember Kids News. God, no idea what they put on it. What the hell did they put on Kids News? That's another show for
There'd
another day, I
be
think.
something actually newsworthy and then some shit about, something kid related to toys that's getting brought out, if I remember.
Yeah, yeah, some bollocks. Yeah, I can't imagine why they thought that they should do it. I was like, put another cartoon on you dicks.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But before we go into what's happening around the comic book world, should we go to some corners?
that's meant to be a
Reading.
corner. I don't know what that is. Imagine I can't figure out how to do it on the camera, Chris. That's a corner.
So we will go to our reading corners.
Happiness is just around the corner.
So, first is The Curse of the White Knight. I am
Curses, White Knight.
going to. Following through with more of this White Knight run, which when we get into the solicits at the end of the month seems to be growing further. Um, I really like this as a whole. Um, Curse the White Knight brings in Azrael in a
Yep.
much better way than Nightfall.
Yeah.
um, make makes the use of like the whole sort of religious bit as well better than it did in the other one, and amazing idea of the history of Gotham, with the going back to when they came over on the boats from Britain
Yeah.
in the Pilgrim days and all that sort of side of it. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this as a whole.
That
I,
that that addition to kind of giving him a historical link to the past felt like it was, you sort of said about the introducing Azrael to this universe. It felt like a simpler way of doing it, didn't it? So you didn't need quite as much. You didn't need to see him for sort of 10 episodes before. 10 episodes. God, I've got to stop saying episodes. 10 issues beforehand, or have like a mini series or something like that. You just kind of went boom. Here he is, and this is how they're linked. And yeah, I liked that. Mate, give me like Court of Owls vibes as well with that kind of concept of the mucky past of Gotham being tied
yeah,
in, and the mucky past of the Waynes.
and also more Jack and Joker fun during this as well. Not as much as obviously the first one, but still there, still kicking along. The GTO still kicking along, and the Bat family being part of the story as well.
See, I'm with you. I like this one more, I think, than White Knight. But you saying the Jack Joker stuff, I could have had that in the bin for this. I'd had enough of that in the first one. Maybe if it was coming back later. But yeah, that was weird enough. The biggest criticism I'd throw against this is we said White Knight felt a bit too long. This felt a bit too short, and I think this felt a bit too short because I'd have much rather seen more Bat Family, more Azrael than any of the Jack Joker stuff. And I quite like the Harley stuff in it as well. But yeah,
Mm.
I could have quite happily not had that in this in the slightest, because I don't think it added anything, and in fact I think it detracted from it.
But yeah, so I have going to keep carry on from it,
Oh, I'm
and
doing a
I
lot.
have
I'm in for anything like Sean Murphy does in this universe, unless it goes really bad. Like I don't know, maybe if we're like on the fourth, fifth one, and all of a sudden it's just awful. But yeah, I'm in for this. I think this is really good stuff. And he made Azrael much more interesting than some of the stuff that we've read of
yeah.
Azrael.
A slight spoiler for something that will come up in a couple of in a future episode because I haven't finished it as of yet. I have been reading the next bit, which is the Harley Quinn
Oh, I
White
haven't
Knight run,
started that yet. It's in my spreadsheet of my rotation of what I read. It's quite a way off for me to get back to White Knight.
and just as a heads up, the quality carries on there too.
I hope
Uh,
so because I think they've done really good stuff with the Harley character. Harley, I think, is one of the most interesting ones in this, and I think it is the most interesting Harley has been in a decade plus.
Other than the animated version, because I do love that animated series and that world,
I haven't seen that
but
bit, so yeah, sorry.
but
Yeah, I
but yeah, no, as a sort of Harley being Harley, this is some of the best stuff for her. Then obviously, other than the animated stuff, which I'm loving that, and
I I would go with. I'll take back the decades. I can't remember years. It's been the most interested I've been in Harley since Harley's been in the DC movies. Because I think there was, and I'm not saying there's not been good stuff potentially written in there, because I'm sure there has, but I think a lot become generic. Let's do Harley like the movies, and because I saw a lot of that, it made me disinclined to read anything Harley based. Even the good stuff that's probably out there, I haven't touched because, yeah, for fear of getting Margot Robbie over and over again.
yes. So, what is your first in your list?
The Avengers. I started the Jason Aaron one, which is the last run, which is just about to come to an end. And I had tried this when it first come out, and I just didn't feel. I think I read the first two issues, didn't feel like it was vibing with me at all. But
Hmm.
as I've been hitting like the big guns of Marvel, either their current runs or their previous ones,
Newest,
this was kind
yeah,
of the last big one on the list that I thought, and it was at the bottom of my list because I knew I hadn't fancied it first time out. But I love Jason Aaron, who writes it, and that's why I was kind of surprised that I didn't love it in those first couple of issues. But the first trade collects the first 5 issues, I think it is. So I zinged through that, and do you know what? I enjoyed it more. The second time round, I enjoyed it more. I still feel like some of my issues with it from first time round are still there. Now, bearing in mind, cyclically, you tend to get a new creative team come on it, and they'll start their new Avengers team. And when you say that, like this one's got like Cap and Thor and Iron Man on it, and it actually starts with Cap, Thor, and Iron Man having a conversation about pretty much we should get the band back together, and there's some reluctance
yeah.
from some and things like that, and then a big threat comes along and it pulls them all together. Um, there's a big plot point that's set up here as well, where you see analog characters of the Avengers, or I say of the Avengers, of some of the Avengers characters, but some of the bigger characters in the Marvel universe from the year 1 million BC. So you have Odin instead of Thor. You have a Ghost Rider that's riding a mammoth. You have someone who has the Phoenix Force. So all of these kind of archetypal things that are big things in the Marvel universe, and that's kind of layered in there. At the time as well, they're having a fight with the Celestials, and then when you get into this story, there is an issue with the Celestials, and there are dark Celestials that come to destroy the Earth. Yada yada yada. And I'm not understanding it by yada yada yada, but it's that kind of big threat, heroes gather together to fight the big threat. But I think where this is really leading to is this linking with the 1 million years BC, and this team kind of grows out of that. So this team, as I say, has Thor, it has Black Panther, and in the old version, there's the first Panther God and things like that. And it
Hmm.
feels like this team is going to build to be all of these big archetypal powers that are in the Marvel universe at some point, and probably have a crossover, because there is a kind of hint at the end of the story where Odin kind of goes, "Oh, gosh, Willikes, if only they knew about the really bad thing we'd done," that sort of thing. So I think that's where the series is ultimately going to build to. Um, it's got nice art from Ed McGuinness. It's Jason Aaron written, and I do like his stuff. I am going to stick with it. It's just not quite there for me, and I
Yeah.
wonder if it will grow into something that I really like, because Jason Aaron can throw some big, fantastic, wonderful ideas into things, and I wonder whether over time I'll buy into more of them. My biggest issue with it though is it's got Ghost Rider in it, but it's got the Robbie Reyes current Ghost Rider, and I've just never taken to the character. And whenever I pick up an issue with that, with him in it, I kind of go, oh, I don't really want to read this. And he doesn't feel Avengers. He doesn't feel like an Avengers character. He feels out of
Yeah.
place. If it had been Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider or Danny Ketch Ghost Rider, I probably would have bought it a bit more. And also the She-Hulk that they're using in this is the She-Hulk of the time, and she is more Hulk smash She-Hulk. I don't like that version of She-Hulk. So yeah, there's just a few nuggets in there that stop me from really enjoying it. But yeah, as I say, I will come back and at least give it one more volume and possibly two more, because I trust Jason Aaron, and I hope that this isn't just that bit of work that he done that isn't for me.
Yeah. I'm intrigued by that prehistoric Avengers
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
That sort of was like,
Well, that's the thing. There's some nuggets in there that you kind of go, oh, I do want to get to that part of the story. I just hope that the bits in between don't annoy me so much that I never get there.
But yeah, I think that might be one of those of I'll when you come back to for some more, you'll have to let me know, and I might just
Yeah,
be
yeah,
those if I just grab the prehistoric issues and not read the whole run,
yeah,
just just get the fun bits.
yeah. Well, I mean, like the Ghost Rider on a mammoth is pretty cool visual, if I'm
Yeah.
really honest. Yeah.
So my next one is a 5-issue run from 2001 of a
Space
character
Odyssey.
I had never heard of before, but one of the lads in the office, when he saw that I was had the iPad out and was reading, he was like, "Have you ever read this?" And I was like, "No," and he sold me on it. The Century.
Oh, I like the Century. I bought this when it came out. Yeah, I really like this story.
So yeah, so the Century doesn't remember that he's a superhero. Um, his wife thinks he's got a drinking problem because he needs to neck his serum, and she thinks it's booze that he hides in a book. And the world has forgotten about him. What I really love about this, and it's really sort of poignant in the first couple of issues, is they throw back to 50s, 60s style
Yep.
comics to tell you about the Century and the stuff that he did and how he, and then you sort of find out that there's been someone's made him not be remembered, and you start getting Doctor Strange, you get the Fantastic Four, Spidey, Four, all sort of come in during the run. My only downside of it is how it ends, because it ends as they're about to have a big fuck off fight with the big bad, but the run finishes on that 5th issue just as they're getting teamed up and ready to go for the fight. And I'm like, I want to know where's the fight? Where does this continue? But yeah, no, from what I've researched, this literally was just a 5-issue Marvel Knights run that was I think it was done just to bring the character back into
Um, t-
the pantheon a bit.
to introduce him full stop, this is the first he ever appears.
Oh, so it's not. I thought it was.
So
I thought
no,
like the
so all of
throwbacks
that's
were.
no, all that stuff is written for this. That's why it's so good. Like it's a created for this, and they do it so well, don't they? I mean, the fact that, as you
See,
say, you're sitting there and you're kind of going, "I thought this was a throwback character." Spot on. They do it absolutely fantastic.
yeah,
I
I said
must
it.
admit, I couldn't remember. If you'd have asked me, I couldn't remember how it ended because it's been 20 plus years since I've read it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did this era of Marvel. So Marvel Knights is doing its thing. You're seeing some really creative, interesting. The art on this from it's Jai Lee is beautiful. I think as good as the throwback stuff is, I think that kind of bleak, unsettling kind of modern vision you have of him,
yeah,
it feels murky and horror, even though you've got the colourful costumes and things like that. But this sort of like whole time period, there's some great runs out there. This being one of them, because Marvel had been on its arse financially, and I think they were just kind of going, well, let's make stuff and see what we can do with it, and it allowed for some fantastic storytelling. And I think some of the dark nuggets, and I don't mean the anti-hero dark nuggets, but those dark, more serious toned. So you said it right at the beginning. One of the things that really stood out for me, the storyline, is the play up of going, is he a hero, or is he someone who's just got a drink? Is his wife right? Has he got a drinking
yeah.
problem? And having those sort of
Is he
storytelling,
deluded? Is he
yeah,
because he sort of gets because Sentry gets an idea of what he was. The world's forgot him, and you sort of getting that sort of thing. So helped by having the flashback issue segments of, was this all in his mind? Is he having a breakdown and delusions, or is there something sinister that's happened? And that it has a level of intrigue and a level of mystery that
yeah.
a lot of stuff, especially with the superhero stuff that I found in like the Marvel that I've read, a lot of Marvel stuff doesn't have that gritty side a lot of the time.
I would say it does. You've just been reading the wrong stuff. I would say it has more than DC generally. I because it was kind of built more of that living in the real world, like kind of concepts, and I think it's there, but I think it's probably not the stuff that's pushed to the fore. And I think this era does that really well because they're pushing it. So it's probably worth asking you right now. You do realise there's more, don't you?
I have seen there is more, yes, but there seems to
Good.
be like a couple of year gap to the next lot of Century
No,
stuff.
there's some that comes out right after that. So there's a load
I
of
couldn't.
specials of. So I think there's Century Fantastic Four, Century X-Men, Century Spider-Man. Now, some of those issues are set of his adventures with them in the past and things like that, and that builds up to Century the Void, I think it is. And then you're right, then you get a jump of, I think it's 4 years to volume two. And then you get a jump a few years to something else, which I won't say because I won't spoil it for you. But let's just say that none of this is the end of the Century story. The Century will appear again, as they like to have in the end of like all
Yeah,
Marvel movies now and things like that. But yes, there's a lot more Century stuff out there, but not necessarily all of it being him in a solo series.
uh,
But but yeah, it's. I think at the beginning it's fantastic. Other writers later on use him in things. Um, I think if you like the beginning of it, you'll probably at least think what happens next with him. Maybe even 8 9 years later than this, I think you'll be interested in it.
yeah, it's definitely one that said I found, and so just put in the Century in the search thing, and I found the thing was I didn't see the crossovers
I don't know whether they're on there because obviously we know that not everything is on there, but I'd like to think they're on there. But yeah, we can have a look at that kind of offline. But yeah, certainly I
That's for
remember kind
later.
of there buying the so we say spin-offs, but like the crossovers, and again, very interesting, different style. You know, like we talk about that era, and Marvel Knights would do things like a 5-issue limited series, but then be more important, more impactful, maybe. Like and
Yeah.
introducing sort of these concepts. But yeah, big fan.
Yes. But yeah, no. As I said, it's one of those. Sean at work was like, "You should try this," and Sean was very much right, and I'm definitely going to be finding more and carrying
Very
on.
much around the same time period, there's one release called Marvel Boy, which is Grant Morrison written. Um,
Okay.
I would say give that a go as well. I want to say it came out in either 99, 2000, or 2001. There wasn't a lot of time between these. They're not linked, but it was of that era doing a similar kind of functional stylistic thing. So yeah, I think you'll quite like that as well.
I should again
Marvel
put that in
Boy.
put that in the list for later and remind me
Put that in my
when we're
list.
done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is next in your reading corner?
I read the third volume of Ice Cream Man. I'm not going to talk about this much, but I wanted to mention it because it's brilliant. I've talked about the other two volumes and how brilliant they are, and I'm going to use the word brilliant again. This series is getting better and better and better every volume that I read. It does still have your Twilight Zone esque elements of horror story of the week. But in this volume, it's the first time where the storyline, and it's called the Hopscotch Melange, and it's the first time where it's Hopscotch Melange Part One, Part Two, Part Three, Part Four. And this is, I don't want to talk about it too much. I don't want to sort of spoil it, but um, ostensibly, this is you really, as the reader, starting to get an idea of what's going on in the Ice Cream Man universe, shall we say, and the links for some of the characters that have shown up more than
You've had
once.
yeah.
Yeah, and you get a bit of past, present, future, maybe other dimension, maybe other universe, and you see these little snippets. But again, all the way through it, and especially when you get to kind of the final issue of this volume, um, you are being meted out part of this story, but there is a core, cool horror analog short story in there with it. I'm definitely reading this to the end, and I'll be very surprised if when I get to the end of this doesn't rocket right up the sort of top in the top 50 comic books I've ever read. That sort of thing. I think this is that damn good. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, this is one of those I just wish it was on like a digital thing so I could get hold of it.
Yeah,
But I think I might because you how much you go on about it. I think I might have to put my hand in my pocket and go and get the first trade.
yeah. I mean, I guess it. I presume it's on like sort of Kindle Comixology, but I think we've made it quite clear how we feel about using that service as it stands. And I know that Humble Bundle often do comics bundles that can then be played in a player like any of the comic book players that there are out there. They're not bad for actually keeping your eye on. Often they'll kind of go, oh, this month for 20 quid, have 500 image comics that you can download straight to your device and play on there and things like that. So I imagine it might appear in that if you're looking for a more sort of financially nice way. I definitely because I've got these digitally, but what I will do is, of course, unless it goes off a cliff, once I have finished reading the whole thing, I've no doubt I'll be investing in a lovely, juicy, lovely hardcover for this because it looks bloody pretty as well.
Aha. So my last one takes a little turn as it was something that I didn't enjoy.
Oh,
It is the Doom
boo!
that came to Gotham. So obviously I had a bit high hopes for this because it was done by the same guys that did Gotham by Gaslight.
Oh,
Moved forward a few decades. We're in the 20s/30s. this in has in which I think is the detriment to it. It starts having actual Batman known villains
Batman.
in it.
Yes.
So Penguin is there, Two Face is in it, Ra's al Ghul and Talia are there, and it's where it struggles is having those characters playing in that time frame with Batman and Bruce of that sort of time. Um, it goes on too long as well. The page count is higher in this as a one hit than both the two that were in Gotham by Gaslight, and it struggles for it as well. It does meander a bit. It is pretty. It's the one thing I will say. They do keep up the level of art that they do in Gotham by Gaslight and the World Fair one that they did. But yeah, this one soured me a little bit on the time frames.
See, it's strange because I said I've never read Gotham by Gaslight, and I've heard a lot about it, and it's been oft been on my list to get to. If you'd have asked me as a betting man which one I will like more, that or the World's Fair one or the Doom that came to Gotham, I would bet that I would like the Doom that came to Gotham more because they have a different writer. So Gotham by Gaslight and the follow up are written by Brian Augustine and drawn by Mike Mignola, where this is written by Mike Mignola. And I love his writing style. Doesn't mean I love everything he does, but
Mm.
I love his writing style. And playing in that era is what he tends to do so well. So yes, if I was asked to guess which one I'd like more, I would like this one more. So it's a bit of a shame to hear that you thought this one wasn't as good.
Yeah, it might just be this could be one of those where certain people will pick on it and go, "Oh, this is amazing. I don't see what you're not seeing in it." But yeah, it just didn't work for me with this one.
I'm looking at the
Uh,
cover. I love the cover.
yeah, as I said, the art is stunning, but yeah, just didn't do it for me.
And this one's an animated now. Well, it's an animated now. I think it's available over here end of March, I think. But yeah, the Doom that came to Kaufman's been made into one of their animated movies, I guess.
I
I
know
don't.
Gotham by Gaslight was done as well, but I think
Yeah.
they did the same with that as what they did with Killing Joke, where they for the animated one they've extended the beginning and extended the end and put extra bits in that aren't actually in the book.
Okay.
But
And
I would imagine
and we
that
know how we felt about our extended Catwoman bollocks, not Catwoman, a Batgirl bollocks in Killing Joke, don't we?
yeah. So yeah, it's one of those if they turn up free on Amazon, then I'll on an afternoon if I've got the boy and it's pissing it down with rain,
Yeah.
chuck it on. But it wouldn't be one of those that I'm going out my way to watch.
Yeah, I that tends to be how I see any of those DC animated is if they're on Amazon for free. And not that I have a particular issue with them. I think some of them have been really good. Some of them are not as good. Some of them are stories I'm really interested in. Some of them stories I'm not interested in. But I don't. They're not high on my list to go out and seek. I'd rather read the comic generally than watch the animated movie. So yeah, but if they're on there, yeah, I'll watch them.
Yes. So should we go into some news?
Let's bloody do it.
So the big bit of news that came out the day after we recorded the last news episode,
Dun dun dun.
DCU Gods and Monsters.
Yes.
So James Gunn came out and told us what is the plan for phase one, if we're using the Marvel term,
Yeah.
of the new DCU. And it's a mixed bag of cartoons, TV shows, and films.
Yeah.
Um,
It feels very Marvel now doesn't it? Like they're kind
Yeah,
of going, okay, the formula is there, and I'm not sort of saying this about, but the formula of TVs and movies and some animated shows sort of backing it up. It's kind of, well, let's fast forward to that. Let's hopefully forget about Snyder, and then let's fast forward to this.
yeah. One thing they did say in the list of stuff we're going to go through, it doesn't include Elseworld. So basically, the Batman, the Joker,
Joker, yeah.
those aren't going to be as part of the DC canon
But
as
also
such.
aren't canned, which was nice to hear
Yeah,
for me for Joker 2, because I am very intrigued to see. The Joker was so much better than it had any right to be. I'm really interested to see if they can recreate that magic a second time.
as a musical.
Yeah, yeah. And again, that sort of thing kind of goes, well, at least it sounds like you're trying to recreate something magical. Let's hope it works.
Yeah. So in the list, and stop me at any point where you've got something you want to say about anyone in particular. Starting with Shazam, Fury of the Gods.
Shazam!
Uh, Going into The Flash, which I broke a cardinal rule, but it wasn't by choice. It was because the other half was like, "You have to see this." I've seen the trailer for it,
And it was shit.
but it does have Michael Keaton as Batman.
Doesn't matter. It was a shit trailer for what looks like it's going to be a shit movie.
Yeah. We then have Blue Beetle, Aquaman 2. Then we get our first cartoon, which is Creature Commandos.
I think though, like up to that point, effectively all of those projects, so up to and out of Aquaman 2, were all ones that were kind of greenlit before James Gunn, weren't they? So I
Yeah,
mean, a lot of them already made. So that this feels kind of almost. I mean, they were describing it as the end of stroke transition for things that will continue on. So yeah, I think that's the point where you kind of go, okay, line in the sand now. Probably if you're going to judge the James Gunn universe, judge it from what comes after this rather than like this. But I'm sure he's got some influence or worked off of what the plans are for them. But yeah, I think all that
yeah.
stuff is kind of pre-gun, but going to still exist.
Or at least he's going to have some editing chops in there to make it fit what he wants.
Oh, we all know how good a edit of a DC universe movie is, don't we? Oh my god.
We then go into Waller, uh, Superman Legacy.
And that is, I think, the big tent pole initial one, isn't it? You know, I
Yeah,
feel like that is their statement of intent, Superman Legacy. Like we know very little about it so far because it's so far off. But if we're going to say what is the point that this reboots or whatever terminology we're going to use for it, where is our this is the James Gunn universe? It smacks to me that Superman Legacy will be the one.
yeah. We then get the Lanterns, which I'm intrigued when he said it's going to be like True Crime or True
Because they
Detective,
because in
even.
theory they are cops, aren't they? They're the space
Yeah,
cops. So yeah, it would be nice to maybe see that take on it, that side of it.
yeah. So it's one of those. They obviously we've said many times when I've read stuff with Green Lantern how I struggle with the character. Maybe seeing it in a gritty detective program might turn me around on it. We then have the Authority, which is
All
Wildstorm.
hail the authority! My zing 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 diamond pick. Cannot wait. Except for in a minute, you're going to say something else. I'm going to say zing 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 my diamond pick. But this was the one that I am most excited about. It is an amazing comic book. I never thought we'd see it in a movie. I never thought we'd see it in a DC movie purely because they aren't really kind of the team du jour of current times. If they get this anywhere near as close to what that comic book run was, and it was very much designed to be a widescreen action movie, or certainly the Mark Miller part of it. If they can get this right, I think this is the one that will be very impressive. However, it's also the one that I'm a little bit scared that James Gunn might do the Suicide Squad as the Authority.
Yeah.
So really excited, but with some trepidation for this one.
Yeah. We then have Paradise Lost, which is based in the Wonder Woman world.
Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of a prequel, isn't it? And there was talk about it being almost Games of Thrones esque, where you're going to have like the houses of sort of competition on Themyscira and things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what it is, but yeah, open your mind
yeah.
wide for that one, I think.
Then we then have my standout one, Batman: Brave and the Bold. So we're getting the boy as Robin, not Tim or Dick. We're going all the way to his actual son, and this is the Tom King run. I'm hearing that this is going to be based from.
There's recommended reading, isn't there? What they're saying to kind of go, these are the sort of things that you want to look at. This is the one that I'm probably most afraid of because it's going to be a new Batman, right, and a new Robin. I think it's rather than Tom King. I think it's primarily going to be Grant Morrison run because that's where Damien gets introduced. But
Yeah,
I don't know. I hope. Um, but let's be honest, we're probably due a really bad Batman, aren't we? And I don't mean like Batman Forever, but most of the reboots we've liked, haven't we? Like the first movie or second movie we've liked. I don't know. I think I might be going into it with my hands over my eyes, depending on, for example, how Superman Legacy is.
yeah. And then Booster Gold,
Yeah,
which
come on,
is
Booster. That's a
which is
TV
one
show
I
I'm
don't
most
know
interested in.
about. Um,
He's a shit superhero. He's a bit of a shithead from the future. Nicks a suit, comes back to the past to try and make himself a hero because he knows how to do stuff, and he has like a little robot that tells him how to fix things. But he's just a bit crap
ooh,
at it.
ooh,
Yeah,
I could get behind that.
it's a character I really like, and like very much over the years has been um, very much humor based, but not always. That kind of humor mixed with when he's a bit of a fuck up, a bit of kind of pathos as well, of feeling for him. Because at times he really is trying. But yeah, I quite like the idea of that. As long as they don't cast John Cena as him, we should be all right.
Then we've got Supergirl, the Woman of Tomorrow.
Ding 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 ding. Silver Star. Yeah, that's the one. That's the other one, and this is the one that's based off of Tom King's Supergirl run, which I have yet to read, but I will be reading soon. But you tell me, someone's going to make a movie based off of a Tom King comic? Yes, please. Take my money.
And rounding it out is Swamp Thing.
Which I'm really interested in because I love me some Swamp Thing. I hope that this will be a good take of the Alan Moore Swamp Thing. I really hope this is a sort of serious. It's going to be a seriously kind of money put into it, right actors, and that they can do that justice if that's the era that they actually choose to play with. But yeah, I'd love
Yeah.
to see that done well in the movie.
So yeah, so obviously that's what we know so far. Um, obviously we are getting the your tent poles there of Batman, Superman, Supergirl as the more mainstream
Yeah,
characters. But I do like the fact that we are getting a lot of stuff that isn't as here's the big boys. You
yeah,
know, getting Boosters Gold, getting Swamp Thing, getting the Authority, so getting Wildstorm in, the Lanterns, because obviously, Green Lantern hasn't really been touched since that shit Ryan Reynolds film.
poor Ryan Reynolds.
So yeah, even if you go as far back into the or closer to the newer stuff, those people like Blue Beetle as well is another one that isn't a massively known character. Um, I hope that they're good, but DC as a whole don't really have the greatest run with films.
No, but I mean, unfortunately, I think that's because that run of films was all under one creative kind of vision, wasn't it? And yeah, for me, And I know for you, it wasn't the greatest creative vision. Full stop.
Yeah.
I mean, the things that really stood out for me. So I think we talked about on the Suicide Squad, the multiple Suicide Squad episode. That James Gunn Suicide Squad was an atrocity, and it made me really worried about what James Gunn will do with the DC universe, if well, when given control. Some of the things that's bringing me a bit of confidence back is seeing, and I said about the authority, put the authority to one side because that's just a bit of a kind of yay moment for me. Seeing Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and Swamp Thing being two of the movies in this first phase makes me think we're going to get something not generic and bullshit. Um, like if it had just been Supergirl, a Supergirl movie, and it be more of a just a Supergirl movie, a big sort of action thing, but to as I say, to sort of take that off the Tom King run and to take that off the Alan Moore, it makes me think that James Gunn wants to craft something more than just let's roll out the characters and people will come and buy the tickets. That he's going, these are the stories that I've read that I like that I think will
Mm.
transcribe well into a good movie. So this has made me more confident again. Wait for my ultimate deflation when Superman Legacy is just a succession of dick, fart, and bumhole jokes.
Well, we will wait with to see because as I said, as it stands when it comes to DC films, I don't have a great deal of love with them unless they're Batman. But
And
yeah,
Superman,
only the Christopher Reeves.
which is most of them.
But yeah, I think that there is a lot of
And Supergirl. That was a great movie.
eh,
Eh.
yeah, there is a lot of work that needs to be done to bring back the confidence
Yeah, yeah.
in this. But that being said, they make money because people will just turn up for the big spectacle.
Yeah. I mean that's always the thing, like kind of when we get onto this, we talk about it and we go like these will make money come what may, wouldn't they? People will
Yeah,
come out from, and I say will make money come what may. They won't make money if they spend like 8 billion to make it or whatever, but they'll probably people will come out and buy the tickets. And I think that's always the key for me of going, why wouldn't you want to make them good? Because these people are going to come out and they are going to pay their money and they're loyal fans and sometimes like loyal to the point of can't see the wood for the trees. But because you've got such a loyal fan base and because you've actually got all of the stuff written for you, you
yeah,
just need to kind of convert that into something that would work in a movie. It's all there for you. So please just make them good. Don't even need to
yeah.
be brilliant. Just good would be nice.
The one thing I will say that DC are doing that Marvel haven't as much is promoting the fact of what the source material is. So hopefully, going back to what we've said many a time
Yes.
on here, you might get some people actually, doing the comic book side of it as well
Yeah.
as just going to
Well, you're spot
see it
on. You
play
think
out.
how far are we out? How far we are out for these movies to drop? But pretty much 3.5 seconds after he did this, you go onto the DC app and it has a section, doesn't it, of saying these are the things that you should read preemptively for what's going to happen in the movies. And
Yeah,
look, I'm sure most of them or some of them won't actually specifically be exactly like that, but you know, close enough. And yeah, I'm with you. I think they did a very good job of, or certainly unfortunately, in the places we look anyway. But I'm hoping
yeah,
that we'll get in the eye line of people who are interested in maybe preemptively knowing they've got a couple of years that comes out to kind of go, what am I letting myself in for, and getting an idea of what they'll be touching on. But yeah, bravo Warner Brothers and DC marketing for that. Let's hope that this is the start of some good things to come.
yes. So this year marks 60 years
60
since the
years.
the beginning of two teams. One, the Avengers.
Heard of
More
them.
on that later. The second one are your boys, the X-Men.
The X-Men.
And there will be, to celebrate this, on the 16th of March, so you've got plenty of time to get an active DC or a Marvel subscription, so you can get your little invite for this.
Yep.
A virtual event which will feature Chris Claremont, Walter and Louise Simpson, Rob Linford, Mark Silvestri, Jerry Duggan, Jonah Hackman, and more, as they spotlight the creative and his legacy and history of the mutants.
So, like with Claremont, I mean, he wrote it for years, and he is kind of the biggest creator they have ever had on it. And like with people like Rob Liefeld and Mark Silvestri, they were big artists along the way. And then that transition to sort of Jerry Duggan to Jonathan Hickman's, who've been very recent on it. I love the fact that they're doing this. Like as a fan of the franchise, it feels like a really nice thank you that, and I'm going to say that I don't have to pay for, but of course, as you say, it is linked to your Marvel subscription, so effectively I am paying for it, but it doesn't feel like I'm paying extra for it. Yeah, I'm really, I'll be up and awake and getting myself involved with this.
Yeah, so for us this side of the pond, it is a midnight start, but they will be going through the epic moments of the history of the comics, secrets behind the favorite characters. So you're probably going to get a lot of details of, especially if certain creators brought in certain mutants that they've created.
I
Um,
imagine the bulk of that will be talking about what people's plans probably were for Wolverine and what they ended up actually being and things like that.
um, so yeah, and also chances to win things. There's meant to be some exclusive announcements coming out because I noticed that in the May solicits, which is what I said about Avengers, is that the 60th anniversary new issue one Avengers is out. That this will probably be where they announce something X-Men related as a number one slash 60th
So I'm a billion
anniversary
years
run.
behind on the X-Men. I know I've touched on in here of me sort of going back and starting a Jonathan Hickman run and then starting to do the Dawn of X, and I think I'm about 5 years out at the moment. But effectively, from what I saw in last month's solicits and a bit in this month's solicits, it looks like that era of the X-Men, so what the X-Men have been doing since then to now, is starting to come to an end. So yeah, I imagine those announcements will be probably the tease for what is to come afterwards. So yeah, very intrigued by that point. Although again, reminder, got to get off my ass and get caught up. But so many things that I need to get off my ass and get caught up on. So
So next, DC are to make a change to Infinite and give us some manga. So DC manga, which are published just in Japan, um, include things such as Superman versus Mishi, Batman Justice Buster, Joker Operation One, will all be coming to the app and in English.
I quite like the look of some of the covers of these. I was quite intrigued when I saw those.
Yes. So they're called a webtoon serialized format. So I don't know how that's gonna play out
Oh,
for us
well, we'll
because
be
you said
finding out, won't we?
we
Yes.
will. The first ones are to come onto the app in June, with others to follow in the rest of the year. The one thing that this does make me think is if they're doing this with the Japanese language stuff, are we going to get some of the other international only releases? So you know when they do things in Spanish and Italian and French, but not in English, like the music ones.
And funny enough, because we did lightly touch on this before we started recording, didn't we? And you said about how excited you were for it, and then you mentioned that, and I thought I could give two bollocks about that. I was excited because I thought, oh, maybe they'll start integrating some manga. Maybe they'll buy out or license one of the publishers, and I'll start to be able to read some manga through my DC Ultra. Probably not, but that's where my dream goes.
See the difference between the two of us.
Yeah.
And the last bit of news that I have, because I know you have a couple of bits yourself, is
Yes.
that Soraya Han quits from Boom to become the editor in chief at Oni Press.
And I
Um,
saw this, and as much as I don't know her, she has been at Boom during what I would consider quite a boom period for it, where it has had a lot of very critically acclaimed and good selling series in there. So I did wonder whether that's almost a prompt for her move. As if they come along and said, "Well, hang on a minute, we'll pay you to kind of maybe run our whole line and see if you can bring that same level of interest, creative teams, etc., to us." So,
yeah,
yeah,
I was
I
gonna
think
say,
I think we might be looking at this in a year or two's time and go, that was quite a big move for Only Press to beef their sales up.
yeah. So if you look at the places that she's worked, she has been obviously at Boom, but
Oh,
also did Dark Horse and Vertigo um, when that was
it's
still
good
obviously a
pedigree, isn't it?
thing.
Yeah,
So if this is going to be, 'cause this is the one thing that the indies can do more than the big boys, is quite happily go out and get weird and wonderful creators that want to do weird and wonderful stuff that you know don't
yeah.
doesn't fit the normal molds.
Well, and also that they want to have that full ownership rights that they won't get at DC's and Marvels.
Yeah. Um, yeah, we could get some really cool stuff. Not to what we've done recently, but if you could get someone that makes their version of Nice House on the Lake,
Yes.
of that
Yeah.
sort of level of creator,
Or for me,
that
the
just
many deaths of Layla Starr, that sort of
yeah,
thing. I think
that
let these creators create.
yeah, we could get some really really cool stuff.
Yeah, and only like for a long time. I mean, it was always kind of one of the smaller ones, but it's always had a fantastic reputation. But I feel like somewhere in the last decade, maybe 15 years, where a lot of other companies joined that small press part of indie, kind of blended into the background a little bit. So yeah, I think it's quite nice for it to maybe, hopefully, see a bit of a resurgence.
Yes. So what are the news bits that you have?
Couple of kind of more pow pow big things happening in the actual publishing world that popped up, and these are from the Comics Pro event that's currently going on out there. But there was a few crossover stories. Who doesn't love a big event crossover story? But yeah, so I thought I'd just touch on them quickly. It was announced a Contest of Chaos to be coming later this year from Marvel. It's a bit of a many years ago they did the Contest of Champions, which was before Secret Wars, but effectively the base idea of it is a load of heroes fighting each other. And yeah, let's say Contest of Chaos, I guess probably they're going to lean maybe into magical reasons for it. I will say I'm just a bit of a sucker for these sort of things. Maybe because when I joined into comics, it was Secret Wars, but give me a competition where characters I know have to fight each other. And let's be honest, they don't normally end up being like a fight to the death. It normally ends up they team up and they take on whoever's forced them to do it. But
Yeah.
I think it's one of those ones where it looks like it will be quite fun. I think there will be a lot of the big franchise characters kind of being chucked into this event that probably won't have wide or sweeping repercussions. It will probably just be contained in what it is. Bring it on for that one.
Mortal Kombat of the heroes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly that sort of thing. And at the same event, they were talking about a new Star Wars event that Marvel will be running, and it looks to me so it'll be running through Doctor Aphra, the Star Wars comic, Darth Vader, and Star Wars Bounty Hunters, which I'm nowhere near yet. Um, I've only just done Vader Down, which was the first crossover event of the Star Wars comics, and I really enjoyed that. And I will get to that point in my catching up with stuff, but I like the idea of this. I like the idea of it. Almost feels like the comic books are a continuation of what the movies would be if they were doing it as a TV series, but a really well made one. And in my head, it feels like these events would be, and where the characters all come together to do a
for the
movie. So
film. Yeah,
yeah. And the last one is a DC crossover, and I think we lightly touched on it when we talked about the Dawn of DC. But they announced that there'll be a event coming later this year called Night Terrors, and that is night with a K. And the bat symbol is under Night Terrors as a grave, as the kind of picture, and
I
it will
saw the
be
picture for this, but
yeah.
the article wouldn't load up, so I
Oh,
was like,
boo the
ah,
article. Yeah. No, and written by Joshua Williamson, who's doing a lot of, who has been doing a lot of DC stuff recently, and is held in some regard. Not a writer I've got to yet. He's on my list to get to his DC stuff. And probably very notably the return on art of Chris Bacalo, who hasn't done any comic book stuff for a while. I think he's well, he hasn't done anything for DC for 20 years. He did some of the Vertigo stuff back in the day. Then Marvel kind of, I was going to say, kidnapped him. That's not what happened. They put him under a contract, and that's not kidnapping. But yeah, it'd be very, very interesting to see. And I don't know, just the title of it makes me think, okay, this is going to be something in the Bat world, but probably something with a darker, more horror-like tinge. So,
yeah,
like
stinks of
we've
me.
yeah, but we've read a lot of like the back crossovers with maybe the more Gotham-esque things. Well, this one is going to have Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and they find the body of one of their earliest foes dead inside the Hall of Justice, and I think it will be kind of an investigation, but investigation into the more macabre, like horror side of it, with characters like Deadman. I like the sounds of it. I want some of this in my life, although I guess we've probably got a lot of Dawn of DC to get through before we get to that bit, which we'll probably get to in the
Yes,
solicits. But yeah, no, definitely interested in that. And last but by no means least, and for me, I know you said about James Gunn, but the biggest comic book news story this month, and I can't believe you've disgustingly forgotten about it. Poison Ivy is now an ongoing and will continue on forevermore. It's been removed from its 12 issue limited series to and it'll actually be in June. I think that issue 13 wouldn't have come out, but is now coming out. And I joke about it being the biggest news, but it's a series that both you and I have loved, and I think both of us kind of looked at it longingly and going, I wish this was going to go on longer and longer and longer because there's just so much here. So yes, good on you, all those people who've read Poison Ivy, including us, to get this to an ongoing series.
yes. I'm just hoping that the quality and the story warrants it and keeps going.
The creative team is staying the same, and the I think I think effectively 12 will end with them being back in Gotham fully. So I think whatever comes next will be a more Gotham based story and things like that. Yeah, they've done nothing in what they've shown us so far that doesn't make me think that I'll be with this ongoing until inevitably it ends. Because let's be honest, inevitably they all end eventually, like they run
Yeah,
out of steam or creative teams move on. But yeah, really, really chuffed to see that um, I don't know, go back 25 years ago, this is the sort of vehicle that would you'd hear about how good it is, but you'd know it was going to be cancelled. Well, the world seems to have changed a bit recently, and these are the sort of series where you're going, oh yeah, we'll give you 6 issues, 12 issues, whatever. We saw the same thing with Ram v Swamp Thing. And when it's done well, they've gone, do you want more issues? I'm liking how DC are doing that in their publication side at the moment.
yeah. It's that thing of if you've got more of a story to tell,
Yeah.
carry on.
Yes.
So another thing I did want to just mention is the video games. This is a bit of news. Um, Sony had their state of play recently.
State of your play.
Exactly. And they shoe the new Suicide Squad game by
Yes.
the makers of amazing games, Rocksteady. I saw this and I have automatically gone, not for me, no thank you,
Yes,
because it,
you took quite a negative turn, didn't you?
yeah, so to me, this looks like it is going to be that terrible Avengers game with added Fortnite. And yeah, I've gone from, oh, Rocksteady can do no wrong to, what are you doing, lads?
Did the fact that it's Rocksteady, even with the trailer, would you not consider giving it a crack anyway, though, because of their pedigree?
With seeing what I saw in the trailer and the sort of stuff that I've watched with someone who's sort of been at it and had sort of time with it, of it being basically Fortnite and everyone having guns and jumping and stuff, it's not the type of game that I have any time for.
They are the kind of guns and jumping stuff characters, though, aren't they? You know, like it's Deadshot
Ooh,
and
King
Captain
King Shark's
Boomerang,
not.
and he's the only one. So he's the anomaly, not the norm, because all the rest are known for throwing shit, shooting shit, or not having any talents other than throwing shit and shooting shit.
But yeah, if when it sort of gets reviewed and someone comes out and sort of goes, well, the story pulls it through or something like that, I might look at it. Or if it ends up cheap, but after seeing how Gotham Knights fell on its ass,
Yeah, it did, didn't it? That was a shame. I had, I'm not say I had high hopes. I'd hoped that was going to be good because I thought it'd be nice to get a spotlight on some of those wider Gotham characters. Two people that are non-comic book, so might not know some of them so well. That was that was a shame for me.
doesn't fill me with great joy. And I know that it's a squad and there's the 4 characters there, but it seems to be that it's going to be more for being on multiplayer online. Whereas if I want to have a Rocksteady game, like if I have a Rockstar game, I want it to be to play the story and have
Yeah,
that, which this doesn't look like it's going to have. It's not built for that. It's more built for jump around, shoot stuff, and get pretty things for your gun.
it felt to me even from kind of announcement that like and you look at the I'm going to say the trailer because effectively it's an extended trailer, isn't it? You get some gameplay in there as well,
Yeah,
and but it always smacked to me of this is the Suicide Squad from the DC universe fighting the the DC movie universe fighting the Justice League from the DC universe, and I've got no interest in the Justice League from the DC movie universe nor the Suicide Squad from the DC movie universe. So why would I want to play a game about them? Except for it is Rocksteady, and Rocksteady do have probably enough of a pedigree for me. I didn't take so unkindly to it as you did. I thought it looked like not a million miles away stylistically and graphically from what they were doing with things like like the Arkham games. I don't think it is that far away from that, but with some added bells and whistles, lights and flashing, which you'd expect from the Suicide Squad because the movie's that, isn't it? It's those splashes
yeah.
of colours interjected into sort of dark things like that. And but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, getting closer when we get closer to it, I think we'll get maybe a better idea of I say like gameplay, but exactly what you said there. Like I do want a single player game. I'm fine if it has a multiplayer aspect because I might want to play multiplayer. But if I'm going to buy a game, I want a single player because there'll be times where I'll be on my own playing it. So like
Yeah,
shit all use if I can't.
when I'm sat there at 3 in the morning because
Yeah,
I want to just have a gaming session at 0 time I get to the TV.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I'm not necessarily kind of in the mindset to write it off just yet. One of the other things that put us off in the trailer is the awful kind of Ezra Miller style flash in it, and even the storyline seems to be something that won't massively engage me. It is we're in a world where the Justice League have been taken over mind control, and the Suicide Squad must kill them to stop them. And I go, isn't this the plot for a number of DC games? Couldn't we
Yeah.
have got a different plot? But it's probably going to sell more copies having both the term Suicide Squad and Justice League on the cover of it. So I can see why they did it.
Yeah. Why I could have just got a new Rocksteady Batman game. Don't know. That's what I wanted.
It's not all
So,
about what you want, Chris. If you're
damn you.
nice and you write a letter to Santa, maybe one year you'll get that.
So we shall go into the May
The
solicit.
future.
Into the future.
The future.
We will look at the things that will be gracing us in the month of May.
Yes.
So we'll start with the Marvels.
Ooh,
I have
I'm gonna have to
3.
scroll down. Hey, wait one. In fact, you just go with your first one while I scroll down. Doesn't really
Yep.
matter. No one can see it, can they? So
Exactly. So, with the Marvels, the first one that I'm picking out is Marvel's Avengers #1
yeah.
for the first of the for the 60th anniversary run. In the thing is, it doesn't say a great deal of what they're going to be doing, but it is a new Avengers team for this 60th anniversary. As you'd expect, shit tons of variant covers that are all very, very, very pretty. Um, I mean, it's gonna be one of those of I can imagine this will sell out very quickly because it is Avengers 1 and it being the 60th anniversary. And obviously, it will be an ongoing from there on out. Next on my list.
Whoa. Whoa, Nelly.
Okay.
I also have Avengers 1 on my list. I
Aha.
am quite pumped for this one. I've recently been reading the writers Jed. I want to say Jed McKay, but it might be McKay. I recently have been reading his run on Moon Knight, which I have liked a lot. And again, you go writer I like a lot. Let's see what else he's got. And it wasn't long after I finished that first trade of the Moon Knight run that I kind of heard that he was doing Avengers, and I was like, yes, please. The only other thing that I would say about this as well is it's the Avengers and it will have Vision and Scarlet Witch in it. Yes, please. We said quite often the new creator comes on and builds their team, and sometimes it being Avengers of the past, sometimes it being like new integrated ones. I looked at this and just went, this feels like an Avengers team that I have that would have been in the past, now, whatever. This feels like my kind of Avengers. So yeah, I'm all over this.
Yes. My next one is a 4-issue miniseries that's starting in May of Groot.
Groot.
So yeah, I love Groot. So this will be one of those. Depending on what they do with it, this could be funny. I think it's going to be one of those of where, because of it only being a 4-issue run, they'll know the story. It won't need to sort of be overly dramatic or anything like that. Have just Groot probably getting into some weird situations, and yeah, again, the covers are the art looks fucking stunning.
It's old school Groot. It's Groot pre Guardians, isn't it? It's Groot the prequel. Groot the time between his debut in one of the early Journey into Mysteries to like Guardians years later. I like they've got Dan Abnett writing it, and Dan Abnett was around in the kind of annihilation-y days of when Marvel was putting a bit more effort into their space characters, which birthed things like Guardians of the Galaxy, etc., etc., etc. So the writer interests me. I probably won't pick this up. It'll be on Marvel Unlimited, and I guess it's free, but I doubt I will read this.
And the last one for me is Danny Kitch's Ghost Rider starts. So yeah, Ghost Rider is one of those that, as you've said, obviously we were going about the Avengers earlier. he's a character that, when done well, is awesome, but can quite easily be handled badly as well. But Danny Cage obviously has some pedigree there, so should you would hope that he will get it and get it right.
A younger me in the 90s, when I was gorging on everything Marvel was putting out there, picked up his first ever run of Ghost Rider, and it was written by Howard Mackey, and it introduced me to Danny Ketch, the new Ghost Rider. And I'd heard of Johnny Blaze, I was kind of aware, but I hadn't really read any. And I'm always a little bit fearful of going back and reading that run because it could equally be terrible, but I loved it. And the idea of Howard Mackey coming back and doing a 5 issue run on this, it feels deliciously like going home, but also tinged with a bit of fear of when you go home, you realise you lived in a shithole. But yeah, this was on my list. I am interested in this, even if it's just for the maybe the nostalgia and seeing at least part of that creative team on Danny Ketch again, and I hope it's good. But yeah, I'll jump on this when it comes into Marvel Unlimited.
So that is my Marvel picks for the May.
I mean, you hit my two biggies. Surprisingly enough, like one of them that I had on here, which I didn't even know was coming. And if you'd have said to me, pre me seeing it in the solicits, if you said to me, would you be interested in Fury #1, a Nick Fury series, I'd have said, huh, no, God, of course I won't. Don't be foolish. But then I read the solicit for it, and I saw that Al Ewing was going to be writing it, a writer I like, and suddenly I went, yes, please. It looks like it's going to be very much leaning into the espionage spy world of it, which I know
Mm-hmm.
Fury is, but like you don't know, do you? You know, like sometimes it could be it could be a flight attendant. Like sometimes people do wild and wacky things with these things, but yeah, it seems like it's dipping into world, which I also quite like that world of it as well. So I will be picking up Fury #1, and I'm surprised this didn't make your list. Punisher #12. Now I know we tend to focus on kind of tentpole moments and first issues because there's when we talk about this, there's loads of ongoings, if we will.
Yeah.
But I think this is the end of Punisher.
Um, I think if I read correctly, there is going to be one more war journal
Okay.
after this, but yeah, this is the end of the main
Yeah.
Punisher story arc. But then there'll be a war journal after the fact. But
Yeah, so I thought like quite notable, like based off of like it, and it's got, as all these solicits do, they give you the what's the teaser, and the teaser for this is just Punisher, no more. And I thought, oh, I wonder what they're going to do here. So I that one really did stand out to me. And also the first trade of Gold Goblins coming out. Now I said about, because it's Red Goblin as well, isn't there?
yeah,
Out currently of going. I'm so far behind on Spidey lore, as in the whole of Nick Spencer run. I don't feel like I could jump into any of the current stuff, but I saw who was writing it, and it's Christopher Cantwell, and I've just been reading his run on Iron Man, first two trades in, and it is bloody brilliant. So I flagged this because I'm going, well, actually, by May, I might actually be closer to being up to date. So I think I'll definitely be teased and tempted into picking this up in some way, shape, or form. Whereas previously, no, I wouldn't. But yeah, creative team has convinced me that this one's a goer. And that's
yeah.
it for me and Marvel. Other than, as we
So
say, the things that we kind of read anyway, but none of them
yeah,
had anything sort of notable that I thought would flashing lights that we should jump onto.
yeah. So we're going to DC. So with DC, I will leave the one that I know you're going to want to talk about till last.
Ooh, yep.
So first is Suicide Squad Kills Arkham Asylum. I'm a stickler for these sort of things. I will always try the first one of these. With Suicide Squad, it's been so hit and miss though. I can usually tell one, maybe two issues in of if I'm gonna vibe with it or not. Um, so it's one of those that I will try the first one when it turns up on DCU.
I I looked at it and went, um, why would I want to buy a series that's a spin-off prequel to a game that I'm probably not going to buy?
But yeah,
You know,
just
like, and then bearing in mind, you just said about that. I don't know, comic books different, but I'm thinking, why on earth would I want to go into like, and let's be honest, like an Elseworlds, because it ain't in the main universe. Why would I want to read a series that is effectively just a sales vehicle for, yeah, as I say, a game that I'm not going to buy because I don't like the look of? I will say though, there was one thing that tempted me, and that's the writer, John Layman. I like his writing, but yeah, this absolutely stinks to me of cash in. Let's see how many people we can get who's going to buy the game to just come in and buy this. Yeah, I wouldn't touch this with a barge pole.
yeah, as I said, it'll be one of those when it's on there for free. I'll look at it. I
Yeah,
won't be
I guess
pop my
that's the
hand in my
truth of it.
pocket.
Unless I see
And
something that says it like it's the best comic of the year, I wouldn't even read this for free.
next is Peacemaker Tries Hard, because I love me some Peacemaker. Um, obviously helped by Cena's portrayal of him, to bring him into the zeitgeist. All the Peacemaker stuff that I've read, I've enjoyed. So yeah, I will definitely be giving that a go.
I don't know the creative team at all. That sort of didn't stand out to me. I'm the opposite of you. The Cena portrayal is from the movie, not necessarily TV show, is appalling, and you couldn't. Even though I can read this for free, unless I read some stuff by Cole Starks, which is the writer that intrigues me. And again, Peacemaker before John Cena got involved was a character that I had no real feelings with. And not only would I not read this for free, you couldn't pay me to read this. Because again though, but again it feels like it's got that foul stench of cash in for me, and I don't want to read cash in stuff. I want to read stuff that people are writing because they think they've got a good story to tell. Now, very judgmental of me because I don't know, and as I say, if I read some Cole Stark stuff, but yeah, no. Of all the stuff that they'll do that has a grand impact probably on the universe and that will be a story that is a story that's revered or told or read over and over again, this very much smacks to me of this will be in a bargain bin within 3 months in any comic book store.
And next, the continuation of the White Knight story, with Generation Joker. As I said earlier, obviously with reading through it, I'm loving it. It will be one of those where I will wait till the whole thing is on the app so I
Yes.
can do the whole
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
as a lump. But seeing that is the obviously the next way is we're getting some more Joker joy.
Yeah. You know,
Um,
when I said earlier, like this is kind of, I think, what I hoped for the Joker after that first series is that there would be a here's the next part of the Joker chapter, and maybe some of those in between wouldn't
yeah,
integrate him or a lot less. But yeah, this does feel like this will be the next big part in the Jack stroke Joker story.
yeah. But the big one, the one that I can guarantee you'll be all over, Batman Brave and Bold by a certain
Um,
unknown fellow called
it's,
Tom King.
it's not the one that I thought you were going to pick out, but yes, it is on my list. It's not my number one most excited for the month, though. No, it is. But yeah, I am excited about it. It's. I think the only thing that tempers my excitement, and don't get me wrong, you are right. Tom King on Batman is the kind of anthology nature of it. And a load of the people who are on creatives for this, I like them all, but it's a multifaceted creative. And I do think it'll be great. Don't get me wrong, but if you'd have said to me Tom King had a new Batman series, Christopher Cantwell had a new Batman series, and they were two different things, I think I'd be more excited than them being in the same book.
Yeah, it was just one of those ones I saw that and I was like, ah,
It
I
is.
know you'll be all over this.
It is, and when we talk about Batman, it's him. It's Tom King with Mitch Gerard. So our creative team from One Bad Day Riddler. So yeah, I am very excited about it. But yeah, I can't. I don't know. There was something else that was more exciting. I don't want to make out as if like this wasn't great, but there was something that excited me more in the DC solicits.
So what have you got from your DCs?
Well, I mean, like, not to be overly harsh, man. I thought there was loads of cool stuff from DC this month, and you managed to pick out the fucking video game spin-off, um, The Vigil #1. So a new series written by Ram V, a writer that I'm loving, and it's part of the Dawn of DC kind of initiative. So conceptually, it's a new set of characters written by a writer I quite like, and even like the beginning of it is who are the Vigils. So I think that's going to be part of kind of the the selling point of this, the mystery of the series is learning who the Vigil are and what they do as an organization, and that one absolutely jumped out at me. And at the same time, like just under that in the solicits was another new #1 for Under the Dawn of DC, which is City Boy. Partially, I liked the idea of this because the writer Greg Pak, I've liked Greg Pak stuff before, um, and I just thought, what a quirky name, City Boy. And this feels like, from the premise of it, when DC often do their line wide relaunches, or I guess this one isn't line wide, but introduce a load of new #1s. They do quite often take a chance on some different ideas, some different concepts. I remember going right way back to things like the New 52, where some of the stuff I liked the most were characters that, hand on heart, you knew would never sell like
Mm.
to the extent they want, but they would be very, very good stories at the end of this. And it's this character City Boy is leaping out of apparently the Wildstorm 30th anniversary and Lazarus Planet. So it's a new Korean hero, and I don't know. I want that as much as there's the familiar characters that we know and love. I do want to see new ideas and new characters given a chance. So definitely one that I will be backing and buying, and fingers crossed, absolutely hoping that it is good. We have the second volume of The Human Target, which is the one of the Tom King series. It's not completed yet, but that's my reminder to go. If the volume 2 of it's coming out in May, that means I'll be able to read that in April in its entirety on DC Ultra. And the covers alone for this have been stunning for me, and I almost snuck in another one of the Tom King written ones this month, just because the cover was a very good, Danger Street, but it was like Danger Street #3, and other than me loving the cover, there wasn't really anything else to kind of pull it in. And only two more from DC, but as I say, DC really did grab me this month. We have Shazam #1. I have some very fond memories of a couple of the Shazam runs that I've read in the past. The one that I had the most fond memories of, it wasn't Shazam, it was Captain Marvel at that point. But creative team again for me on this. Mark Waid, wonderful writer. Dan Mora, the most impressive superhero artist, like straight up superhero, as you see
Yeah.
superheroes, artist that I've seen in years. He reminds me of the sort of high standards that your Jim Lee's had back in the day, the sort of things that turn someone into a superstar artist. He's on art, and my slight fear for it is, we know that there's a Shazam movie. I didn't mind the first Shazam movie, by the way. I've seen the trailer for the new one, which is, I want to say, Fury of the Gods, Summon of the
Yes,
Gods.
Fury
And
of the Gods.
I thought the first one was fine. I don't really want my Shazam to be like that in the comic books. The Shazam I'm more used to is one that was oft written in an almost 40s, 50s style rather than the jovial ha 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 comedy hero that we get now. But I mean, in the solicits, they talk about dinosaurs from space, the clubhouse of eternity, homicidal worms and talking tigers, atomic robots, alien worlds, mad scientists, sinister curses, and villains from throughout the DC. And that's what Captain Marvel used to do really well. It had this really quirky cadre of villains, and it felt like the sort of the sort of stories that I would see in movies when I was a kid. Because when you were a
Mm.
kid and you didn't have 8,000 channels, you get shit that was made 40 years ago. But and I'm hoping that that's what Mark Wade brings this. I'm hoping he kind of brings that lovely oldie worldy, out of time, quirky, exotic by its kind of strangeness series. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
all over that. And my most exciting about the month is, and this is going very much parallel with Avengers #1. I'm very excited about getting a new Avengers series with a creative team that I really like. I'm equally as excited to get Titans #1 from Tom Taylor from DC. I think, or I hope, that this really will establish another superhero team in that upper echelon of DC superhero teams. You know, that has been dominated by the Justice League in
yeah,
forever, and other Teen Titans have had their purple patches and things like that. But you look at Marvel. Marvel have had X-Men, Avengers, Fantastic Four. They have these kind of big, all teams that have held, let's say, the #1 spot for attention. And I think it's been really few and far between where that push hasn't been Justice League. So I've got very high hopes that this isn't just going to be a transient thing where you get this for 12 issues, then the Justice League comes back and they're pushed to the back. I really hope this is a concerted effort to give some of these characters like Nightwing the push to the top echelons, the A-level heroes.
yeah. The thing with this, one of the reasons that I didn't pick up on it is because obviously it is
Because it didn't
part
have
of
someone with swords.
more the fact of because of it being the whole of this new Dawn of DC and like how everything's going to be linking together, where it's all going to sit as a whole. Because obviously we've got all the Lazarus Pit stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so is the Titans going to literally just be there as a part of the bigger story that they're telling, or is it going to be the Titans having their own thing as
I
well?
imagine both.
So as you say, is it going to be like a 12 and done, and that's just because it fits into the
Well,
the
I mean,
company wide story we're doing?
pretty much when you look at the solicits this month, everything is under Dawn of DC. So if you're not gonna try anything that's under Dawn of DC just in case it's under Lazarus Planet, then you ain't reading any DC for about a year, mate. All you're going to be able to read is tie-ins to video games and shit like that, because that's all that there is that's coming out from them that isn't under the Dawn of DC banner.
Yeah, but it's that thing of sort of how many issues and how much stuff we're gonna have to read to know what the hell's going on.
I don't know. I mean, like, we'll find that out by reading it, and rarely do you see all of those things that intrinsically linked. I mean, I read it as Lazarus Planet will do its thing, and that will tee off like a kind of load of new heroes, like for example, City Boy, I'm guessing. But also will put people into certain sort of status quos. So the Titans being there for whatever reason, but then you're in their series and they're off doing the things that they would be doing. That's how I've taken, and I'm sure some of the stuff will have some crossovers and some links. Certainly, I think if you get any of them that aren't selling well and others that are selling well, all of a sudden the one that isn't selling well will have Batman or Superman in it every week to try and up the sales. But that's been since the beginning of time, comic book stuff. But yeah, I just think that possibly you're in for a rough year and a half if you ain't going to read anything that's under the dawn of DC, because there's going to be nothing but that, except for cheap knockoff cash in tie-ins to TV shows or video games.
And Poison Ivy.
Um, Poison Ivy will. You do realise that that will come under the Dawn of DC banner once it hits issue 13. Every mainstream Marvel, every mainstream DC universe will be under that Dawn of DC banner.
So at that point, that'll be when I'm having to read everything.
Yeah, but again, you don't, because it's just an idea, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
when the new 52 come out, you didn't have to read every new 52 issue. That it just went, here are 52 comics that we release now a month, and for those collectathon or like comic book mentality of going, oh, I'll get every single one. Something that I'm currently doing at the moment is reading through the whole of the DC New 52, but certainly at the time, I gave a load of them a try just to see whether any of them were good, but I didn't stay with all of them because I didn't have enough money to buy 52 issues of it a month. I kind of went, what are the characters I like, what are the creative teams I like, what are the stories I like, and you kind of pick and choose. But yeah, like everything is going to be under Dawn of DC. If it's not, it's not in the DC universe, like continuity and
Yeah.
canonically.
So we will go into the best of the rest,
Best of the best.
which I only have one, which isn't one that I will read, but it was one that I thought should be sort of brought to a little bit of attention to it. Is the Dead by Daylight being picked up as an idea to make a comic book run from? Because I don't know if you've played the game,
No, I've
but
watched it played though. I've
but
watched
when
fellow Stretch Muffler Taylor play it, and
yeah.
I quite enjoyed watching someone else play it. Someone who looked like they were competent at a game that I don't think I could ever be competent at.
But with before when you start adding all the licensed killers and stuff in, the killers that came as part of the base game have really cool designs, have look like they could have these interesting backstories and stuff. So it is a world that, if done properly, I think there could be quite a bit that comes out of it. But it is only a 4-issue run. So it's probably another one of those of testing the waters with it. But yeah, it is that sort of thing of, because of the type of game it is, it's not going to be a, oh look, we're just going to follow what happened in the game, or that you get with some of the licensed stuff where it's just, we'll follow what happened in the cartoon or in the film.
It would be impossible to do a comic book where you follow what happened in the game though, because the game doesn't have a story.
Exactly.
Yeah, it would just be like 4 issues of 5 random people trying to fill up a gas canister while someone walked around slowly or fastly after him.
Yes, putting them on meat hooks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's one of those of idea with that. I think could be quite interesting.
I'm trying to find this because I didn't even notice this existing, to see kind of who the creative team is and any of that jazz.
But whilst you do your best, the rest I'll
Oh,
pull up
right,
my.
and I want to go with. I felt like when we did Reading Corner, we were on the same page tonight. We are not on the same page on Solicits. This looks absolute gash. This looks like total money grabbing to me. The sort of stuff that back in the day, if you saw this on the shelf of your local newsagents, you go, no way, I ain't touching that. This is going to be awful. Because it's again, it's a cash grab. It's a popular franchise that has no story to it. Oh God, who knows? The creative team might smash this out of the park. But I would, my challenge to you would be, name a good comic book series based off of a video game.
The Arkham City game was alright, but then to be fair, that's Batman then retold
Yeah,
and
yeah.
but as I said, it's one of those of I think because with the characters that you have in the game, you could do something interesting with.
It's a stretch though, isn't it? Like, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I've just had a look, and apparently the person writing it has won awards. But I kind of go of everything that's released in the universe in publication. Um, yeah, I don't get this. I don't get this at all. This is yeah. This just feels to me like no, like stay away from this. Don't no one buy this because if you buy this shit, they'll keep making this shit. They won't put effort in and create new original stuff. They'll just try and cash in on stuff that's popular elsewhere. And yeah, but you know, I fucking hate license shit. Like I really
Yes.
do. And yeah, this is the drizzling pits of it from what I've seen of the cover. And in
So
a
do you
month where there's so much beautiful stuff out there, Chris, licensed stuff, you're part of the problem. Anywho, best of the rest. I will say I thought it was quite thin for best of the rest. Looking around the indie publishers, I didn't feel like it was one of those months where I was going, "Ooh." Now, Image had quite a few number ones, which I probably, when I get closer to the time, might pick it up. But all of them were creative teams that I don't have a lot of knowledge of, and maybe the premise wasn't massively grabbing from just reading the solicitation. But I think probably there'll be a couple of gems in there. But one of the ones that stood out for me is that they are. It's another one of the Jeff Lemire Bone Orchard ones coming out. This Black Feather coming out hardcover, and I've only read one of the Black Orchard Mythos books so far. It was bloody brilliant, and it is on my list to actually get off my arse and buy everything else that has come out because the creative team, the artist Andrea Sorrentino does gorgeous art. Jeff Lemire is a genius writer. A horror universe and an original creative horror universe. Sign me up. I'm all over that. And the only other thing that was new was Supermassive one shot from Image Comics. And I've spoken before about Radiant Black, and
Mm,
I'm a little bit behind on Radiant Black, but this is a one shot that brings together some of the now extended characters that have come out of Radiant Black into having their own either limited series or ongoing series, bring them kind of back for a collected, and here they are all together with a purpose.
yeah.
So that will be a definite buy for me. And this one's more for you than anything else. It reminded me to tell you that this is something that you do need to get at some point and read because I saw that the Black Hammer Omnibus Volume 2 is coming out. Black Hammer is a series or a couple of series, a couple of limited series is written by Jeff Lemire again, and it is its own superhero universe. So they're all original characters created by him, set at a period of time in the heroes' lives. It is fantastic. It is. This is for me top end, top draw superhero storytelling. He managed to capture me very, very quickly in the first couple of issues of this when it started to come out. To go, I know nothing about these, but I want to know everything about these. And you know, it has mystery and intrigue built into it, grand ideas, big ideas. Um, and beautiful art to go along with it. So yeah, this is more to remind me to tell you, you want to get yourself on Black Hammer one of these days because it is beautiful, exciting, interesting superhero storytelling.
Another one to add to the shopping list.
Yeah, yeah. Put that take license bollocks off of your shopping list and replace it with this. How about that?
But you know, only read the license bollocks when it's free.
Mm, mm. Yeah, but then that comes into it's still a false economy because that takes up time that you could be spending reading things like Alan Moore's Swamp Thing and things like that.
There is that.
Yeah.
So as always, ring the bell, like and subscribe, and all the YouTubey things.
Let us know down there what you're looking forward to in May.
Yes, and any of the MCU announcements, any of those tickle your pickles, let us know.
I like tickle your pickles. That's nice.
Yeah. And until next time,
We'll be tickling
where it
our
will
pickles.
be, where it will be Hawkeye, 'cause we'll
It will
get
be
around to doing
Hawkeye.
that.
Yeah. Actually, we probably should have said that at the start, shouldn't we? We did say the next episode would be, but then the Solicits dropped, so we went, oh shit, we'll do the Solicits episode first. The next one will be
Yeah.
Hawkeye.
So until then, goodbye.